thank you for having us. Thank you for being our host here in Paris. I mean, there's a lot riding. Look, the markets are optimistic. Yeah. They're optimistic that there's some kind of resolution in the Middle East. Are they overlooking the worries about inflation?
Yeah. So first of all, welcome. Happy to be here. I think there's a little bit too much exuberance out there. It's not just the Middle East. It's Ukraine, Russia still there, America, China. There are a lot of these complex issues which may or may not affect the market. But then there are issues like inflation. That today's print wasn't so good. So yeah, I think the market's kind of exuberant, and it may not be completely justified.
So why are they so exuberant? If they're exuberant, are you expecting a correction? And is it because they're looking at AI?
No, I don't think it's AI. I think corporate profit is doing very well. AI will be a plus. So this year it's just a lot more spending, which may be a little inflationary too. But it's more corporate profits. We're doing a little bit more QE. Government's still spending a lot of money. The one big beautiful bill is kicking in. Stimulus offsetting a lot of the gas. I think the gas increase, the dollar of gas is $100 million. The one big beautiful bill is $100 billion that consumers pay. The one big beautiful bill is $300 billion. Deregulation is real. There are these things which are causing a pretty good market right now.
But when you talk about exuberance, it means that there's a market dislocation.
No,
where do you see that?
It means the stock market's in the top 10-15%. Credit spreads are very low. The general assumption that these things are all going to resolve. And I'm kind of a skeptic. I don't know. I hope they do, but I don't know that they will. Okay,
what do chief executives worry about in private that they tell you that they won't tell us?
Not much.
Really?
Trade, America, NATO, the wars, oil prices. I mean, the same stuff you hear about all the time.
But CapEx, I know, we had a great earnings season.
Yeah.
Is the next one going to be less good?
I don't know yet. It's very hard to tell. I think the deficit spending drives a lot of corporate earnings too.
Yeah.
So and drives a lot of capex. And will capex create productivity before it creates inflation? I don't know that. I think one of the risks is inflation. I've always thought that.
Right.
And so.
But also, how do you think of oil, and how do you think about what's happening in the Middle East? If this lasts 3 weeks, 4 weeks, even like 2 months, are we going to be in trouble?
It's a big deal, and every day it gets a little bit worse. I don't know how it's going to be resolved. I hope it gets resolved in the interest of the United States and against the Iranian regime, not the Iranian people. But I don't know. But I read something today that was very interesting, that China reduced their demand by 5 million barrels a day. America increases exports by 3 million barrels a day. That 8 million is made up for a lot of what was lost, and which is maybe why it hasn't been as severe as people think. On the other hand, inventories are coming down. Gas wells may have to be closed and stuff like that. So it gets a little more serious every day. That day that it becomes a disaster has been pushed out quite further than we thought at the beginning.
Do you worry about the U.S. consumer? Are you seeing signs of stress anywhere?
I think the upper end, the top 50%, lots of money, jobs, wages going up, home prices going up, stock prices going up. They're spending like they should. Like they're buying, they're traveling. The bottom 30% is, I'm going to say, is struggling a little bit. It's not a massive downturn, and of course we'd like to help them, but their wages have not gone up. But more important than that, they still have jobs, and they don't have too much debt. They still have jobs, and that, at the end of the day, what's going to drive consumer spending, consumer sentiment, that part of corporate profits will be jobs.
What do you worry about? I know there's also the president is meeting with President Xi tomorrow in Beijing. I mean, does that have implications for the trajectory of America?
Look, I don't know, but I would suspect they'll come up with that'll be a friendly meeting with some positives from both sides. I don't think China's going to give in to any major demands. I don't think we're going to make major demands. We both have a lot of common interests. Anti-terrorism, anti-nuclear proliferation. China is feeling its oats. They have to deal with President Trump. So we'll see how it turns out. Okay,
you had an amazing trading results. The trading was amazing in the last quarter. Yeah. How's it going now?
Well, I can't comment on that. But from the last time Troy spoke publicly, it was fine so far, but I can't give you other information than that. So.
Jay, give me a sense.
But when you guys can see every day, volumes
are high.
Yeah, and when volumes are high, all things being equal, it will be good for trading.
But you're part of it. I mean, it's you think it's going okay because it depends on the kind of trading that you put, right? You benefit.
Trading is going to be very good.
Talk to me about AI.
Yeah.
So I don't know whether you've also played around with Mythos. What did you see?
Yeah. So AI, big picture, AI is going to cure cancers and reduce work weeks, and kids will live longer, and planes will be safer, cars will be safer, and less people die, and you'll have new drugs. It's going to be good, we've been using it now for 13 years. It does an amazing job in various different things. So we're going to deploy it to help our customers. There are two attributes that people worry about. One is mythos. It's legitimate that this is so powerful and covers a lot of vulnerabilities, and we're all trying to figure out how to deal with it, not just for ourselves, but with all of our friends. Big banks, small banks, telecom, the government's on top of it. A lot of the work's going to be done by enterprise. They don't have the ability to do a lot of that. So I think, Scott Bessett's running it for banks, and I assume they've done it for other people elsewhere. So we're all getting our hands around it. It is risky. Everyone, and we actually publish, and people should look at this, like a list of what you can do now. Don't wait to get mythos, because everyone's going to get it at one point, but you can't give it to everyone. If they can't handle it, or if it gets leaked out, it can be used by bad guys before we've protected open source code and all our code. And so we need a little work to do to get it done right. And the other one is this job disruption where that may be true. We should get prepared for it. We shouldn't be breathless. And that to me is how do you create skills and reskilling. There will be a lot of jobs. And AI, cyber, advanced manufacturing, the trades, and then we should make sure locally, and this is like between government and business kind of collaboration, that we are prepared if it happens too much. Stop talking about it. Have a plan.
But my thoughts, does it change the way that banks have to defend themselves? Are you thinking about cybersecurity differently?
No, banks have always been top of the heap in terms of cybersecurity. I wrote about in my chairman's letter, cyber is our biggest risk, made worse by AI, and that was before mythos. So this does make it more dangerous. That's why banks are really working this thing right now. And all of us, and together. We're collaborating. We're not like arguing with each other.
What does that mean? What does that actually look like concretely in 5-6 months?
Yeah. We're all going through all our own applications. With mythos, patching them up. We're all going through open source code. A lot of flaws in open source code. We don't need to all fix the same open source code. If you fix one, I can fix the other. Collaboration. Trying to figure out how to form utilities to help third parties. Going to our critical vendors, including we're hooked into exchanges around the world, making sure they're doing it properly. And there are other things, like how do you a patch used to be posted publicly, and you fix that patch. Now you have to be able to fix the patch in hours. And some you can't make public. But if you make it public, the bad guys will get it, reverse engineer it, and get through. So we're doing all that stuff. It's serious work. I think hundreds of people doing it full time now.
Look, hyperscalers and also funding of hyperscalers is really propping up the economy. Do you have any worries about getting that money back, or some of the funding of what's being constructed?
Well, the way I look at it is that AI is real. A lot of money is going to go into it. That doesn't mean everyone who does it is going to be a winner. Go back to the internet. A lot of people lost. A lot of people won. And so, and the hyperscalers, will those data centers not find use? They probably will. Yeah. But is it possible that some do it badly, design it badly, didn't get the right? Yeah, of course it's possible. Yeah.
Does AI change the way you recruit, the way you hire, and the way you work?
I think it's going to change almost everything. And I've done my own stuff in getting reports in the morning. I have a Jamie strategic intelligence report. It's getting better. So I could say, what did Francine say yesterday? And every morning at 5 a.m. will tell me what you had on your people that might be significant to me. And then you can keep on educating it. That's not important. This is important. What's significant? So we're all going to use it in different ways, but we will use it. It won't change my day-to-day. And it will inside the company, because we're deploying it in 1,000 different use cases today.
You're much better off just watching Bloomberg. Talk to me about the UK. So there's a lot of, the markets are on tenterhooks to know whether the Prime Minister survives. We don't exactly know what comes next. The markets are nervous. What does it mean for JPMorgan in London?
Well, look, we've had ups and downs in markets and ups and downs in politicians, so it's not going to change our fundamental strategy. I would say that Europe, including the UK, know what to do, and it's the Draghi report. There are 300 items in there, common capital markets, common regulations, allowing cross-border in the EU competition. There's huge regulatory, not tariff, but regulatory burdens. They need to do the same thing in the UK. I think Keir Starmer is a very smart guy. Politics is really tough. They're in a bind because of debts and deficits, and they inherited a lot of that. I think the world of Rachel Reeves, and they got to be tough. They got to say, we're going to do these things, and the short term may not be great, but governments have to get the stuff done right that grows the economy and militarily. And I think they need to work close with Europe. And if you remember, Keir Starmer and President Macron, they were going to work closer. Not reversing Brexit, but military alliances, intelligence alliances, making sure the economies have economic relations good for both the continent and good for Europe, good for the UK.
You're building a big mega project in Canary Wharf that everyone is quite excited about. Does this potential political instability actually change your view on everything, or do you see costs going up? Or are you worried about taxation?
Not political instability, but if they become hostile to banks again, yes. I mean, I've always objected to the fact, we didn't damage the UK in any way, and we paid probably $10 billion of extra taxes by now. I don't think that's right or fair. If that happens too much, we will reconsider.
Look, I know you've also looked a lot at Europe and funding, and especially when it comes to security. I mean, how much time are you spending making sure that defense companies, that companies in Europe have enough funding from JPMorgan to make sure that they can, I guess, defend
a lot.
The continent?
So we have this huge effort. We deploy over the years $1.5 trillion to help. And it's not just it's resiliency. So it's
right.
even medicines and rare earths, which would be defense, semiconductors is defense, but it's anything you need. So Europe needs LNG. So we look at that as resiliency for Europe, not LNG in America, but shipping here is resiliency. So we have professionals doing it. We've got an unbelievable advisory group. We've dedicated 30, 40 people. We're doing research now, which you might be interested in, across the shipbuilding ecosystem, across the active pharmaceutical system, the rare earth system, and then having public policy which puts us in a better position. We, the democratic world, should never have gotten here where we're so reliant on other people, potential adversaries for rare earths. And we did. Right. So don't cry over spilled milk, but let's fix it. And we got to fix it right away.
And this is good for the U.S. Does the U.S. need stronger allies?
This is good for the U.S., and I think having strong allies is good for us. So my view is we need a stronger NATO. They're doing that, by the way. So, our president pushed them a lot. Well, they're all doing it, which is a good thing. But we want to keep it together. The goal of it should be to have a stronger NATO, not a weaker NATO. The goal, in my view, if you ask me what the goal should be of our economic relations with Europe, should be having a stronger Europe to get you to help you do the Draghi report. And I wrote my chair's letter, maybe a pipe dream, that if you did the Draghi report, I would give you one big, beautiful free trade bill. That's what I would do. And, and then fix up. There are some stupid trade issues, and fix them. But both the economies would go better. If they grew better, it'd be good for all the citizens, not just good for the big companies. And I think those two things are pillars of keeping the world safe and free, right, for democracy. So they're not a minor thing; they're a major thing if you look at over 20 or 30 years.
So, Jamie, today, how would you fix the Middle East?
That I do not know. When I hear a lot of politicians say there was no imminent threat from Iran, I'm like, that immediately gets my back up, because a threat is when I'm threatening to do something to you. They've been raping, killing, and murdering for 47 years. Why the Western world allowed proxy wars? I mean, we've learned a lesson that we should have gone years ago at the head of the snake. We should have killed the head of the snake, and so now you have more risk, but maybe more opportunity, because people want peace in the Middle East. Yeah. We have this, it's a terrible situation. I don't know the outcome. I hope there's a plan C or a plan B. I want us to prevail in the way that makes sense. I don't know what the right thing to do was, but I'm not going to sit here and say they weren't a threat and we should have done nothing.
But today, does the Strait of Hormuz need to reopen almost at any cost?
It will eventually be reopened. I don't know. You're talking about the military's been planning for things like this for 40 years. They have plans. I don't know what those plans are. And I hope it works. I just don't know.
I mean, what is the one thing you wish you knew now? There's a lot of uncertainty in the world, right? Yeah. Geopolitics, markets. If you could know one thing for certain from the president, what would it be?
Well, I don't know about that. I just want to. I just roll up my sleeves and try to make it better than it was. So I don't guess for about one good thing or something like that.